Blog Talk Radio.
Please take all the necessary precautions to protect your Constitution while listening to this broadcast. 3, 2, 1. Coming to you live via the internet. It's time for Rage Against the Regime. Let's get ready to rumble! Finally, a show for patriots, defending the Constitution and uncovering the truth at every turn. Bringing you exclusive interviews and covering the topics the mainstream media doesn't dare to touch. Call in and join the discussion at 929-477-3565. That's 929-477-3565. And now, here are your hosts, Bobby Who's the Man and Becky Williams. Rage Against the Regime.
I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man. Yes, I am, yes, I am, yes, I am. I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Hey, Bobby, are you there?
I am.
Hey, I do apologize, running a little bit behind this afternoon. I was actually downstairs trying to get something to drink, looked up and saw I was running late. Welcome to the show, Bobby. Today I'm very excited. We have a great guest. He is running as a presidential candidate, and as an independent. He has no party. But before we get started, how are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. I've been having these really, really bad headaches, and I don't know what it's from or whatever. It's just I've been having real strong, heavy headaches. So today, just out of nowhere, I was okay, and then out of nowhere, it just struck upon me pretty hard, and I'm just, it's kind of agonizing. But I must be honest with you, I've had, I don't know, this is like my second or third day away from Facebook, away from social media. I have not been on my Facebook. I couldn't tell you anything going on in the Facebook world right now or anything else, and I actually feel pretty relieved, I guess would be a word. A lot of people don't realize the addiction that social media and places like Facebook and so on and so forth, that they create. And, here, I've been fighting myself pretty much all week, or, I shouldn't say all week, the last couple of days. I go into my phone to do something else, and all of a sudden I see on my Facebook, it's got a number there. Hey, it only says 30. That's all it will ever tell you is 30. You got 30 messages or 30 things people are trying to tell you, and I know it's way more than that because it's been 30 for 3 days now. And, and it's like I'm sitting there fighting the temptation to click the button to find out what it is. So,
right.
It's a devil in disguise. It's mean. It's nasty. But, it is what it is. So.
Yeah, well, it does carry a heavy addiction, brother. It does carry a heavy load. There's some background noise. Is that you?
Yeah, hang on. Let me do this.
All right. What is going on, Bobby? I did a Spreaker show I had to release earlier today. I just couldn't take it anymore. Same discussion, day in and day out. Yay Cruz, yay Rand Paul, yay this guy, yay that guy. And, they currently serve in Congress. If they serve in Congress currently, they are guilty of misprision and treason. So I did a Spreaker show, broke it down, went to the U.S. codes, explained the three branches of government that functions, who appoints who, just how corrupt it is. And I had to put that Spreaker show out there today. There's some things that are going on, Bobby, that are real concerning, and I want to recap on that before we get to Mr. Baker. I appreciate your patience, Mr. Baker. We'll get to you in a moment. Want to touch base on a couple of things. Bobby, the Dow has been down drastically for the last week and a half for sure. Monday it started tumbling really deep. You know, Carol Ray keeps me up on what's going on with the Dow, and even one of our other regular listeners sent me some information earlier today about it. Terry sent me a picture of what was going on with the Dow and the stock market. But Venezuela, their currency has collapsed. Greece, Puerto Rico, with our market dropping the way it is, Bobby, I think we're headed in the same direction. And I wanted to ask you, you know, do you know anything about what's going on or what we might be looking forward to in September, the end of August, September, what might happen to America?
Well, I don't know. I'm not up on what you're referring to right at this second, but I do know that if you go into Google Maps and you type in September 23rd, 2015, I think it's the 23rd, it might be the 24th, and you type that into Google Maps and put that date in there and let it do its thing, I know that it will take you to CERN. Okay, the little traveling thing ends up on the CERN campus. So I don't know what that's all about, but that's kind of crazy if you ask me. And then I know that there's something big. I mean, you know, they keep talking about there's supposed to be some kind of major, you know, event that's going to be happening. Some people will tell you it's an asteroid or a meteor or whatever. And then other people will tell you that, you know, they're talking about, I guess, FEMA or NASA or somebody has released some information, you know, that they have expectations from, I think it's September, I would like to say 12th or 13th, all the way through to like the 28th. So it's a window. It's not an actual date. The only date that they keep using is, I believe, the 23rd. And, you know, that's when you type that in. You know, you can go into Google, you can go into Google Earth and all these other places. And like I said, CERN is what shows up when you do the actual typing.
Hey, Bobby, tell briefly, if you could, real quick, the listening audience what CERN is. There's a lot of people out there that still don't understand it, and they don't know what it is.
You know, actually, it's really noisy right where I'm at right at this moment because my truck. But give me a second, or you can maybe do it, and I'll be right back.
Sure. For those of you who don't understand what CERN is, it is actually, to sum it up, Jim, are you with us? Are you online? Do you have a live mic?
I am, and you read my thoughts back because we have pounded this on my channels over the last 6 months. So anything you need to know about CERN,
go ahead and
facts,
tell them real quick.
Well, my facts come from Anthony Patch and the others, and I air these out. And at the end of the day, it's a large hadron collider. It's funny because it really associates to Hollywood. You know, the movie Leaped, or the series I Leaped, or I went into the Stargate. These are all things that are very plausible through quantum physics and the supercomputers that we have. So if folks really want to research, look in Anthony Patch. And the thing is, Anthony Patch was, if I may, Becky, engaged at several colleges and would come and speak on these very things. And his audience, pardon me, were sold out or, volunteered out. Well, he had a visit 2-3 weeks ago from, the two men in black. So his voice has been silenced. He has a book out that has been successfully published. He withdrew, Becky Williams, his last book a week before publication, and folks can go verify all this, Anthony Patch. And the good news is I saved all their Google Hangouts. and back to CERN is a super collider, which there are several on the planet, but it is a monster, Becky. And you know what? I'm not Einstein, but you know my background, and it is nothing but evil in my closing remark. And thank you for inviting me to comment.
Hey, my pleasure, brother. That should sum it up for the folks. I invite each and every one of you to that's within earshot later to take a look at CERN. It's spelled CERN. Google it and try to get your head wrapped around that. Essentially, what I understand is they want to try to recreate the Big Bang Theory, if you will, and they can blow with the energy that's being released from this portal, they can actually blow a hole in time or the atmosphere and cause a great devastation.
It's the fabric of the time continuum. It is real. It is real. It is. And I know a lot of people, including me, 10 years ago, I may have thought, well, that's kind of way out there, but it's not. It is not. It is. Look into the money. Look into the association. Everyone's involved in the financing of that. And when it crashed a few years ago, astronomical amount of financing went into this huge machine. And as a techie, it's fascinating. But we have built a telephone system to call Satan, Becky. That's how I'm going to solidify. And I yield. And thank you again for letting me not only interrupt, but for asking me my opinion. I have a lot of data on this, and folks are welcome to join us next time. Anyway, I yield, honey.
Absolutely. We'll do a show on that. Well, I think that we need to introduce our guest. He is a brave patriot who has decided to take on the beast and try to change things if he can make his way into office. His name is Ed Baker. He is a candidate in the 2016 elections for president. Ed isn't a member of any political party or career politician. He believes in United States of America or United Americans instead of labeling them or looking for a difference in them. He's very passionate about having the truth about 9/11 to be exposed. He believes in the Constitution and our rights to freedom. His top priority will be military. If elected, active military veterans and their families will have ongoing representation to ensure that their needs are being met, among other things. He's a very passionate gentleman who stands firmly against illegal aliens. He has a plan to secure the border, deport the aliens, and that right there, I'm really interested in engaging in that conversation with him concerning the aliens and the border especially, and the veterans. Those are two things that are very near and dear to my heart, and when I ran my campaign for governor of Texas, those were two things that were on my platform that were of the utmost importance to me. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest, Ed Baker. Your microphone is open. Can you say hi to the folks, sir?
Hello. Thank you very much for having me on.
Welcome. And I'm sorry for the delay. I've been inundated today with wrapping up my week, and again, I apologize for being a couple of minutes late to the audience and to the guests. Welcome to the show, Ed. I would like to introduce you to Jim. Jim is simulcasting this through his studio. And Jim, I'll let you say hi to Ed.
Hey, Ed, you and I have swapped a couple of personals. This is Jim with Bank versus You TV. And I look forward to hearing your position, and I also look forward to my assumed decision to support you profusely, sir. And so welcome to our forum.
Well, Thank you very much, Jim. I really appreciate it.
All right, Ed, you've got the floor. I think America would like to hear from you. Give a little better description of yourself to the folks, and then I'm sure that we have people who would. Oh, Bobby, are you back?
Yes,
Bobby.
I'm here.
Yep. Welcome back, Bobby. Bobby, say hello to Ed. Bobby is my partner here on Race Against Regime. Ed, say hello.
Hello. How are you, Ed?
I'm doing real well. Nice to hear your voice.
Good to hear from you also. I actually, we have quite a few friends in common. We're also part of the WIN Network and ROAR and Bobby B. Singer, and, you know, we've got a lot of mutual friends, so this is going to be a pretty good show.
I've been really thankful for the support of all of those people, and did a show with him last Saturday. And anytime I'm able to get on a show, I'm just so thankful to be able to introduce myself to those audiences and let them know that they do have more options than what the mainstream media will let them know that they have.
Well, I will apologize. I'm still at work, and I'm a truck driver by trade, so it's going to be a little bit noisy in the background, but, I mean, it's not going to be too bad. I'm going to do the best I can to try to cover it up. One thing that I would like to try to address, Becky and I, well, at least I think Becky agrees with me, on the national level, we kind of believe, well, at least I do. I can't really speak for her. She, you know, if she believes in the same thing, you know, she can say the same thing, but, you know, we've kind of had conversations in the past. On the national level, I'm not so sure that our votes count for anything. You know, I kind of think in my mind that the presidential candidates are, you know, chosen by the powers that be, like, you know, George Soros, the Rothschilds, you know, the Rockefellers, you know, so on and so forth. I kind of hope that I'm wrong, but, you know, when they came out with this electoral college, instead of going by the popular vote, to me, that kind of made me wonder, okay, why did they do something like that when, you know, this person clearly has more votes than the other person, but they don't have the electoral college? Can you kind of explain that to us?
I can explain some of that to you. I can't explain all of it.
Electoral, whatever you can.
Yeah. So first of all, the electoral college is a concern. I do need to understand that better than what I do. My understanding, or everything that I've witnessed, is when a state does have a popular vote within that state, that those electoral votes, from what I've always seen, have always went to that candidate that got the most popular vote within that state. I would find it really hard to believe that if you won the state and the state's electoral votes did not go with the voters' wishes, I would find it very hard to believe that the voters in that state would be satisfied with that. So I do need to learn more about the Electoral College. I understand all the numbers and how each state has a certain number there. I understand you got to get to the 270. I get all that. I find it really hard to believe that when a candidate doesn't win the popular vote within that state, for example, California's 57 or something like that electoral votes, I find it hard to believe that if you win the popular vote in California that they're going to give those electoral votes to somebody else. I can't imagine that the people in California would be okay with that. So again, that's something I got to learn more about. But
Becky, may I, and Ed, I'm sorry.
Let him finish, and then I'll bring you back in.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead,
There's
Ed.
a very brief question. Sorry, Ed. Go ahead.
All right. That's all right. Go ahead, Ed.
Okay, well, what I was going to say on the other part of it is that one of the reasons I decided to run for president, there were a few of them, I got kind of tired of hearing the whole, my vote, our votes don't count anyway, presidents are selected, not elected, it's all rigged. And I kind of, to a degree, I agree with that, but on the other hand, I wanted to kind of see firsthand, how that works and the impact of that, and just give it our best shot and find out, so to speak. I've seen certain things in watching a friend of mine who ran for governor in the last Oregon governor race named Tim Carr. And an example there is he ran on the Republican ticket, and he was up against somebody else that was favored to come out of the Republican side. And the local or Oregonian, really, newspaper started asking before the primary who would they vote for in the governor election, Dennis Richardson or the current governor, Democrat John Kitzhaber. So they had already started to put out there that, you know, this person would win the primary before they ever had the primary vote. And I thought that that was a big problem. You know, I didn't think that that was right to kind of plant that whole thing that this is who's going to come out of it before the voters had a choice, had a chance to vote. So that's an example. But what I believe is this. I think that the rigging comes at the level of the primary more than anything else. I think that whoever wins the primary is likely going to end up serving the same agenda, whoever it is. So if it ends up being Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton, I think you get a pretty good idea that both of those people are probably just giving the illusion of choice to the voter, and whoever comes out of there is going to serve the elite and the evil agenda that is out there. What I believe is that we can defeat that system by getting the word out that there is another option, doing what is necessary to get on these ballots, shows like this, my supporters that do a great job spreading the word. I believe that we can defeat that. I don't think they're prepared for that side of it, to have that legitimate contender that is so different than these other two. You know, a lot of people are fed up with Bushes and Clintons, continually being these presidents. But if it's only the two of them and there isn't a third person on the ballot, you're going to get the same results over and over again. And I think the same can be said if you get a Trump on there or if you get any number of these other people. They're out of touch with the American people. They're bought and paid for. They're career politicians, and that is not what I am.
That's wonderful. You know what? Let me apologize. Let me apologize for blindsiding you on that, though. I mean, you know, it was a question that just came to mind, and you know, I figured I would ask. Kind of a.
No.
Bobby, are you there? I think I may have gotten booted. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Becky, I'm here.
Okay, Bobby may have got booted. Jim, go ahead. You had something you wanted to interject.
Well, Ed actually nailed a lot of what I wanted to ask. But Ed, you and I have swapped a little bit of conversation, and I look forward to continuing that as an engineer. But at the end of the day, the Electoral College is an unnecessary box in the flow chart. It is. And with my background, I'm not going to go on about that, but Diebold and all that, I have carnal knowledge on all that. That is nuts. I want you and your family, your wife, and if your children are of age enough to participate, and they should, in the process, I want the votes to be counted as a tally, Ed, and all this other horse manure. It is collusion, Ed. You know, I mean, when you go buy a car, you might want a blue one or a red one or a black one or a white one, whatever. You make the decision, and in your family you may take a tally, and you may end up with a red car, which you wanted a black one. But you see my point? So all this convoluted bullshit, excuse me, Beck, I told you I'd be clean tonight, but I think that is what the people are over, Ed. And again, sir, thank you for taking my question, and I have a gut feeling that I need to support you beyond this phone call, sir.
Well, I really
with
appreciate
that,
it.
I yield, Becky.
I was just going to say, I appreciate there's no blindsided questions. I will say I don't know more than any other candidate will. I literally have probably 80 to 100 different things I'm learning more and more about, because as I talk to more people, it's amazing how many different things are important to them, or all these different things that affect people, and they want my thoughts on them. And I don't just make stuff up. I learn as much as I can about it before I give my thoughts. So I appreciate any questions. I won't always have the answer right now, but you can bet I'm going to learn as much as I can about it. And I do know the Electoral College is one of those things I do need to learn more about, how that does impact the final tallies. And bottom line, though, is I agree with you that it certainly is unnecessary. There's really no point in it. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, in closing, Ed, and I'm going to go to mute, but we are here to support you, and not only in research, but in anything else we can do as I learn more about you. And I will help you learn because none of us know everything. That's why we have companies and we have teams, sir. So with that, thank you, Becky and Ed, for allowing me to come in here. And I'm going to go to mute, Becky. I'm here if you need anything. And Ed, we're behind you, brother.
Thanks so much.
That's kind of funny. I was going to ask you that question, Ed. So give us a little bit about you and what your agenda would be, that would help the American public learn a little bit more about you, that, that would give them the knowledge that they would probably want to know.
Sure. So, again, the thing is, I'm not a member of any political party. I'm not a career politician. I believe that when somebody that has an R or a D next to their name is up there doing their debates and all this, they pretty much are saying, if I'm elected, there's 40% of the country that I'm not going to represent. There's this ongoing fighting and this battle that does not allow any real unity among the country. And I'm not a member of any political party. I don't label people. I don't use words like liberal, conservative, moderate. I rarely say words like Republican and Democrat. I don't use terms like left-wing, right-wing. I don't know what those things mean when it comes to people in politics. It doesn't matter to me. I look at each issue individually. I try to learn all I can about it, and then I give my thoughts on it. And nobody's going to agree with me on everything. But if they do disagree with me and they come to me and say, I want you to check out this, I'll always look at facts. I'll always try to learn more. And I'll always review my position on things as I learn more. I'll never compromise my values in that process. So that's a big difference from me to another candidate. I'm not interested in the labels. I'm not interested in looking for differences in people. We're not going to agree on everything, but just because you don't agree with me on immigration doesn't mean that you're not going to agree with me on gay marriage, or it doesn't mean that you're going to not agree with me on gun owner rights. On and on and on. Every single issue that I look at is its own issue, and I try to figure out what is best for Americans. I try to learn from the people that are affected by the issues. Bottom line is that we need to have less of the federal government telling communities and people how to live their lives, period. I'm big on freedom. I'm big on the Constitution. I think if we follow the Constitution, a lot of this just solves itself. And we need less of this government involvement in day-to-day lives. I forced myself to listen to the debate, the Republican debate, because the only reason I really did was because I was going to be on a show and they wanted my thoughts on the debate. And just listening to really the whole thing, it was pretty disgusting. One, the moderators were disgusting. The questions that the way that they treated the candidates was rude. They're just rude people. They're shock. They just want shock factor and to get headlines and ratings, and that Kelly File lady and the things that she said to Donald Trump, or that they said to these other people, I thought were rude. Again, the bottom line is how many times that they bashed the other party. that's an ongoing civil war, basically, rather than uniting people and trying to come up with what is best for America. So that's a big difference for me. I think that's probably the biggest thing. That being said, I also look at the real issues that not one other candidate that is on your ballot will address the reality of what happened on September 11th, 2001. There is not one other candidate that will have a chance to win this election that will demand a real investigation into that. I think that's a reason not to vote Democrat or Republican, because you've had George Bush and Barack Obama representing those parties that have both went on record saying, do not allow yourself to question the official story of 9/11. I completely question the official story of 9/11. I've, spent a lot of time looking into it, listening to experts that either are pilots that know that a 757 was not flown into the Pentagon, experts in architecture and engineering that know that the towers did not fall because of fires, the firemen that were on the scene that heard all these explosions and lost so many of their fellow firefighters on that day. And to me, it's very obvious that the official story is not what happened. So that right there is a reason not to continue to support those people. We need to get the truth out. We need to punish those responsible. We need to restore the freedom that we lost. And those are things that I'm committed to.
Excellent answer. Excellent. Okay, I just have 3 questions in any order, and then I'm going to let Becky take the realms. Who would be the first person that you would hire? Who would be the first one that you would fire? And then what kind of dog, I know it's a dumb question, but what kind of dog would you have as being president? Because presidents are known for bringing their own type of dog. 1 million people have asked me this question, my wife being one, but I've had like 5 different people ask me this question to ask you, because I guess it kind of says something about a person, what kind of dog they have. You know what I mean? So I'm going to ask that question, but the first person you would hire, first person you would fire, and then what kind of dog would you have?
Wow. Bow wow. I'll tell you, these are, I've never been asked any of those questions, any of those 3. All 3 of them throw me, to be honest. I mean, wow. First of all, the easiest one for me to not answer is the dog one, because I have a cat, and that is what I would be bringing with me. And so nothing against dogs. I've never had a dog of my own. I've had girlfriends that have had dogs and things like that. But if it were going to be a dog, it would probably be a smaller dog. I'm not that into the real big, heavy dogs. I hate to say it, but it's just I don't know. For me, the cat just is I always grew up with cats. We had literally 14 cats when I was a kid, 13, 14 cats at a time. I have one cat of my own. He's 10 years old. He's like a son to me. His name is Titan. And I've got a picture of him on my campaign website at edbaker2016.com. He's a huge part of my life. So hopefully everything will work out, and he'll still be with me, and we're able to make that move to the White House. But I don't know about I cannot imagine myself actually having a dog of my own. But who knows what the future will hold that way. But I really don't know. I've watched some dog shows, and I can't even tell you exactly what the breeds are, but they, there's a lot of beautiful dogs of all different shapes and sizes, and so I'm sure if I ever went that direction, it wouldn't be a real easy decision to make anyway, which one I would bring. But for me, I'm a cat guy. The other 2 questions are tough. I never actually thought about that. The first person that comes to my mind that I would fire, I don't even know if it's really firing or if they just leave after the administration's done, but John Kerry comes to mind really quick as somebody that I'm just tired of seeing with the Iran nuclear deal and these other things. And every time I see him open his mouth, I get kind of nauseous. So I'm not exactly sure if that's a position that the person be fired or if you just replace him with your new administration anyway. But I guess that would be my answer to that. I'm not exactly sure. I would need to look at each position carefully and try to find the best person. I'm really sick of seeing people that were executives with Monsanto that are in these government positions, that are in these, positions where they actually have influence over, what the rules will be going forward for an organization like Monsanto. The same could really be said for Halliburton as well, and some of these places that get huge government contracts, and then these people move into actual administrative positions. I don't know that it's right to flat out say I wouldn't hire a person that had ever been an executive with one of those companies, because I don't know that that's not discrimination in and of itself. If they are the best person for the job and they are a legitimate person, then that needs to be considered. But in general, I think it's pretty fishy when the same people are continually moving up into these administrations that come from these organizations that are killing America. And in general, I would definitely want to find better people. I don't know why it always has to be the same faces. I don't know why we can't look into the private, industries and try to find good people like myself, running for president. Why can't we find the unheard of person that just happens to be right for those positions and give them the opportunity to go into those positions instead of career politicians? So I probably don't even know the name of the person that I'd hire first, because I probably haven't even met him yet.
Very good. I hate to bring him up because we're talking about you, but Trump, during a couple of his speeches, he said, we don't need politicians to do these jobs anymore. We need to bring business people in here to bring, our deficit down, and to be able to, talk to these people and make agreements and, sign contracts and stuff like that. Somebody to deal with China. We could use a business person. We're
right.
losing money on, them sending their cars here and they're making money on it, but we're not making any money on it.
Right.
No,
I agree with that.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, I've got supporters that I think it's great whenever somebody says, hey, I support Donald Trump or Ted Cruz or Bernie Sanders or whoever they support, because the bottom line is that I'm going to need their support, or I'm going to need the support of people that are passionate about me just as they are about their candidate. And so I've got no problem when you say, hey, this is who I like. That's fine. I never ask anybody, who are you going to vote for? I never ask anybody, are you a registered voter, or can you even vote? I just want to know as long as they're here legally, I want the best for them. And I'm happy to answer any of their questions. I'm happy to hear their ideas. It really, that's the bottom line. But I always am very friendly with anybody that says, I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter, I'm a Donald Trump, because the reality of it is very few of those candidates are actually going to end up on the ballot anyway. And what I find is a lot of those people, if their candidate does not make it through the primary, they're not satisfied with the others that are going to beat that candidate. A Bernie Sanders supporter is not necessarily, and most likely not, going to be a Hillary Clinton supporter. And so I think it's great to get in, with all those different people and make sure that they know they're being heard. Be very respectful to them. I run a very positive campaign that way. I usually don't talk about other candidates. I usually try to keep the focus on our objectives, partially because they get plenty of publicity elsewhere anyway. So bottom line, though, is there's some things that Donald Trump says that I really agree with. What I don't like and concerns me is that he can be very divisive, even among, his own party. And whatever that means, as if he's really, dedicated to a party. When he says that he would run independent if he doesn't win the primary, he would consider that. But the bottom line, and the other thing with Donald Trump is that he went on record and said, I would be willing to spend $1 billion on this campaign. And so you got the one guy there's a couple guys in there that aren't career politicians, but, he gets the majority of the press, and he is obviously a multi-billionaire. I don't have any problem with people that are successful. He's taken advantage of some of the rules that are in place that I question if those rules should be in place to allow for people to take advantage of them like he has. to where he can file bankruptcy and do these other things for his businesses and still end up a billionaire. But, for him to say, I'm willing to spend $1 billion to become president, that concerns me. And I think the majority of Americans, if you ask them, would say, I'm sick of money in politics. I'm sick of people buying the elections. What I get told even more often than I think it's rigged or presidents are selected, not elected, they go, you can't do it unless you've got millions of dollars. You can't, I hear that more than anything. I hope, or they say, save your money, you can't do it without millions of dollars. I say, well, I'm running without a dime right now. And if I don't get a dime to come in, I will see this to the end no matter what. I use my phone, I use the internet, I do every radio show that I can get on, and thank you so much for having me on this show so I can introduce myself to audiences. I have supporters all throughout the country that do their part, whether it's putting a bumper sticker on their car, whether it's calling their local radio stations, whether it's sharing posts on Facebook, whatever it is, we're doing the best we can. And in order to win this, I need some money to come in because in some states to get on the ballot, I have to pay a fee in addition to petition signatures. But the reality is that no matter what comes in, I'll use it. But no doubt about it, this will be run on a fraction of what the others on the ballot are going to spend. I'm going to run on a responsible and relatable budget. And I think that the American people, as long as they become aware of who I am, what I stand for, and what I'm up against and where I come from, I think that they're going to appreciate that I can compete with these people that are so out of touch with the everyday American and spending these millions and millions of dollars. And the final thing I'm going to say about it is this. The majority of my supporters say to me, I hate asking for money because it's just not my strong suit. But the majority of them say to me, I would like to be able to make you a contribution. I'm living check to check. I'm on disability. My electricity, I've got a shut-off notice. I got to buy school supplies for my kids. Okay? I don't want their money. I don't want your last $40. I don't want your rent money. I think that these other candidates, they're getting a lot of money from people that are doing very well. The majority of my supporters are struggling. They're not doing so well. And I'm here to represent everybody, whether you're struggling or not. I want the best for America. I believe that I'm a candidate that can provide that better than anyone else that'll be on the ballot. But I think that people need to consider, who will these candidates represent? Are they representing you, the person that's not doing as well as someone else, or are they representing the people that are giving them these tens of millions of dollars of money to spend on their campaigns? And I think the answer is pretty obvious.
I think personally, Ed, you hit some very valid points there. I believe that the person who raises the most campaign funds will win the election if, in fact, it is not already a predestined seating. And I say that respectively because I've done so much research. We brought up the Electoral College earlier, Bobby did. And the way the Electoral College works, you spoke of the functions very well, but there is no oversight committee, either federally or congressionally, that dictates the casting of the electoral votes. Romney, as an example, he had more than, I believe the number was 4 million, almost 4 million votes more than Obama overall as the majority vote. But Obama took the election from him based on the electoral casting. The Electoral College, each candidate picks a representative in those states that cast the electoral votes. And the electoral votes are dictated by the population, by the census that's taken in each state. The population changing, and this is very important, you should know this, pardon me, the change in the number of population in those states has been manipulated by way of an open border, by way of an abuse of allowing refugees into this country. There is no limit where there's supposed to be a limit. and they are being strategically placed in particular areas with purpose. They're brought here for many reasons. Understand that the oligarchy that is operating or functioning as government in this country, and that's what they are. It's a bunch of thugs, or for lack of better terminology, a very well organized mafia group. Pardon me, I have allergies today. They are placing these people. They're coming in literally by the thousands on airliners every day, and most likely they will get unfortunately the Democratic vote, because this is a Democratic regime that is bringing them into the country. And I know you don't like to use those words or to split parties or whatever. And in reality, I think that it's very clear, because the tyranny is still present, that both the Democratic and the Republican Party are one and the same. When you have complete control of the House and the Senate, and you continue to allow ever-present danger and a tyrant to remain in position as commander-in-chief over the greatest nation that God ever created, we have an issue. But back to the electoral end of it. Pardon me. They are chosen by each candidate. You should be at this point reaching out and asking people to support you, and if in fact they would like to be your electoral college candidate in each state that has electoral votes. I know this for a fact. I was approached by Judge Reed a couple of months ago, and he actually asked me if I would represent. He was running as second. He since decided he's not making that run, but he was asked to run as second for an individual who was stepping up as an independent as well. And I was contacted to be a part of the electoral vote for them here in Texas. So understand who picks the electoral college. It's the candidates themselves. Right. There's a lot of corruption. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead, Ed.
No, I appreciate all that, and offline, I know, a few people here on the line have very good insight into that, and they're gonna help pass that on to me, and in a way that I will understand it fully. So I appreciate you all doing that for me, and that's the help I need. The other word that I get a lot that I need to learn is delegate, and what the delegate means in some of these states as well. So those are two of the things that come up from time to time that I need a certain number of delegates and these sorts of things. But I don't want to spend too much time with the listeners on those things. I do hope that I hear what you're saying about the money. I hear what you're saying about these other things. I still firmly believe that we can get the word out, and as long as we get the word out, we get on these ballots. I've got a plan for doing that. It's not going to be easy. Some states are going to be nearly impossible to do it. They stack the deck very hard against a person that's an independent, or in my case, I'm a true independent. I'm not a member of the independent party. I'm actually a non-affiliated voter. And when you put independent on your voter registration card, they actually throw you into a party called the Independent Party. So it's important to distinguish the difference. In my state of Oregon, that's become a huge issue that a lot of people, including myself at one time, when we registered to vote, hit independent thinking that it meant non-affiliated, and they actually throw us into this independent party. And because of that, that party has now gained major party status in Oregon. And so it's creating a lot of issues. And actually the Democrats and Republicans have come out and fought it, saying all these people didn't know what they were doing when they signed up. And now they've thrown out a lot of those, letting people, re-register before they actually call the final tally that they have that major party status, because that affects whether or not they can participate in different debates and things of that nature. So in any event, I like to think, and maybe, sometimes people think that I'm rainbows and unicorns sometimes, but I like to think that this money that these people are bringing in are going to end up being the nails in their coffin at the end. The media wants to say the best campaign is the one that's raising the most money. I like to say, you know what, we got to get the word out, do what we can do, and if we can get there at the end against that Goliath, I think that people are going to appreciate a person that is a real everyday American, that has the right intentions, is in touch with the American people, that is competing and showing that he can run on a responsible budget instead of this ongoing spending spree that these politicians are known for. So I'm giving it my best. I mean it with the bottom of my heart that I do know, absolutely know, that we can win this. It's a matter of those that want to see it happen, continue to get involved. I'm amazed. People say, I'm so sorry that I can't give you any money for your campaign. And I go, man, you've shared this week 5 statuses on Facebook. You have a bumper sticker on your truck. You do this and this and this and this. People contribute in so many different ways. And I just say, whatever you can do that you're comfortable doing, that you feel good about doing, do it. If you're not comfortable calling into a radio show and talking about me, don't do that. But if you're comfortable throwing a bumper sticker on your car, I'll send you one, So, just whatever people can do and they feel good about doing to help, I just ask that we keep it positive. If somebody just flat out says, I'm not going to support this guy, I always will vote for the person with a D next to their name. Great. We introduced it to them. They've heard my name, and move on. There's no need to argue with them, tell them that they're stupid or anything else. We need to use our energy to reach the next person and just keep things going.
I agree 100%. There's a couple questions I want to fire at you, and you're going to engage in this I'm sure, over and over again, the same conversation.
Right.
Which is only going to be, good practice for you to get your points across on your platform.
Absolutely.
I want to know what your intentions would be, sir. Should you become Commander-in-Chief, what will you do to secure my border in Texas and even in the other states? But my concern as a Texan is an open border policy that has inflicted, it's actually an act of war on the American people.
It is.
And it's
100%.
been propagated by the government. Yes. And people don't understand, I have this conversation frequently, that we are at war. Anytime a foreign invader comes across that border and takes the life of an American, that is an act of war. And we're not answering that act, sir. The government will not stand up and defend America and close that border. What are your intentions concerning the strain on our system? The entitlement programs? I know in Texas they're receiving up to $6,000 per family in stipend for as a reward for coming across as a criminal and invader into my country. What will you do, sir, to help us?
Yeah, and as you know in our chats in the past, that this is, for me is probably my biggest issue, my biggest passion, I guess. My top priorities are military and are taking care of our veterans and their families, making sure they're represented and getting the things that they need without having to jump through a bunch of hoops. But my things, if I were to make phone calls or if I were to march or if I were to, do anything that really required a lot of effort as an individual, my passion is the events of 9/11 and the illegal alien situation in this country. So first of all, I haven't read Donald Trump's, exact plan or anything. I believe my plan is stronger than any other candidate that will appear on the ballot against illegal immigrants. And I know a lot of my supporters like him because of his stance on illegal immigration. But I want to emphasize that I believe, this is a big one for me. And I take some heat for it, and it is what it is. But to me, this is a must that we get this under control. The first thing is, yes, we need to secure the border. That's a part of the deal. Can't let people just come in and get across the border and then they're in America. But my thought was to do a double fence, at least 15 feet high, and have some military guarding that fence. I need to learn exactly the specifics. The cost of it doesn't concern me that much. I think that what we're losing because of allowing these people in is so critical that I'm always about cutting out waste. They say it costs $12,000 per person that we deport. I don't understand why it costs that much to arrest, fingerprint, process, detain, and then send them back. I understand that you can't just make them swim back across to Mexico, but they didn't exactly come here in the most luxurious of manners. I don't know, are we sending them back on Lear jets or what? I think that we could do it for less money. So there's just so much here. So one of the things is that I am big on deporting all illegal aliens, period. So if you have come here illegally, or if you have overstayed a visa, work visa, you got to go. And what I propose is a voluntary deportation period, say 90 days, where they can turn themselves in, go through that process, being fingerprinted and all that process, and by doing so, they would allow themselves, after a period of time passes, say 5 years, to be able to follow the procedures to legally re-enter the country. If they did not turn themselves in within that voluntary deportation period, once found, they would be deported and they would never be allowed back in America again. Now, couple that with much more difficulty getting in with the border security. Secondly, we need to get rid of all these damn sanctuary cities that are in this country that make me absolutely sick that we have such a thing as a place for illegal aliens to roam freely without having anything to worry about as far as punishment for their crime. Again, and I want to go back to this war thing because I talk about this a lot and I get, again, some heat for it, but we are at war. These illegal aliens are at war and they are winning the war against us. We are doing nothing to combat them. Not only are they committing crimes that are gruesome and horrible, murdering people, raping people, dealing drugs to our kids and people on the streets and all these other horrible things, intimidating neighborhoods, but just in taking money and taking jobs and taking all these other things that are hurting America and our way of life and our people financially or anything else. I can't tell you how many times I hear things that I can't get resources or I can't get this, but if my last name was Gonzalez, I could, or, I hear things like that a lot. The other thing is I have a friend in, and believe me, by the way, I have no problem at all with immigration. I have no problem with anybody that comes here legally and wants to be an American citizen and loves America and doesn't want us to cater to them and change our history or change what we stand for to accommodate them. I have no problem with that. I have a huge problem with people that take shortcuts, come here illegally, and rape our system. And half of them still want to change America to fit their needs anyway. And I've got a huge problem with all of that. So I have no sanctuary cities, no anybody that is employing or renting housing to these illegal aliens need to have severe consequences for those decisions. One, huge fines. Two, loss of business licenses. And so landscaping companies and these other type things, they have to have a license to operate. If you're going to hire illegal aliens, you're going to go out of business, and that's the bottom line. And then furthermore, incarceration, that you are helping not only a fugitive, but like you said, this is a person committing an act of war against us. And
that's aiding and abetting, sir. That's treason.
Yeah,
it's actually an act of treason under the U.S. Code.
Yes, absolutely. So those are, I take that stand about it. And they go, well, here's two other quick things. One, they go, well, how can you separate families? How can you take a dad away from these kids? He came here legally and he popped out a bunch of kids from his wife, his girlfriend, whatever, and now he's got 4 kids. How can you take their daddy away from him? Well, if he had committed a murder 15 years ago, and the law catches up with him, he's going to have to sit down with his family and say, you know what, I committed a crime 15 years ago. I got caught. Now I'm going to be punished for it. They go away too. So they go, oh, you can't compare murder to this. Well, yes, you can. They are one, some of them are murdering people, but two, they are destroying America, period. And I don't care what race it is. I don't care any of that. I had a friend that came here from Hungary She came here on a work visa. I was a friend of hers for a few years. She went back to Hungary. Later, I find out, she tells me I was there illegally, that I came on a 6-month visa, and I stayed 14 years. She had 3 kids. Her ex-husband or whatever ended up dying of a drug overdose or something. Something happened to him. He ended up dying. So she ended up leaving, going back to Hungary. Those 3 kids have dual citizenship now. They're all in Hungary, but they have dual citizenship. She, flat out, I tell everybody, if I had known that she was an illegal alien, I would have turned her in myself. And even though, hey, she helped me, she helped my family at times, but you know what? It is what it is. I have no time for anyone that comes here illegally or overstays their visa. The other thing you hear is, well, then I guess you're deporting yourself. And I go, no, I was born in the United States to parents that were born in the United States to parents that were born in the United States. I have a social security number. I have a birth certificate. All my jobs that I've had have been documented. I paid taxes on my wages. And that's very different than what these other people are doing. And frankly, we are not fighting back. And what you said before, I try to stay away from these other political parties and make things into the politics of it. But that's true. They're Democrats. I mean, that's what they're becoming. And before long, they'll be able to vote. And if we keep going with this, I'm sorry I keep on with this, but I'm so passionate about this. I'm sweating as I talk about it. But our state here in the last election, they had it on the ballot where they wanted to give undocumented people driver's cards. And so we had a vote whether or not we should give undocumented people driver's cards. And in our state, it is like very high Democrat versus Republican in my state. And I was very happy that failed at a 2-to-1 margin. And but even I was approached in Portland to sign their petition for it, and I handed them my business card, and one of the first lines on there talks about I will deport all illegal aliens. And I said I don't think we see eye to eye on this issue, so obviously that's a big one for me, and I guarantee. Yeah, go ahead. I'm just going to keep going, so I'm stopped.
Well, I've got some really bad news for you. The corrupt Supreme Court has decided that they can impose on all states unconstitutionally that now anybody can vote. Anybody. And that's recent. That was 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Holy crap.
So now we have the regime has accomplished their feat by a corrupt Supreme Court that is handpicked by the POTUS. They're appointed by him to force us to disallow a voter ID law in our state, in all the states, all 50 states. So they do not have to prove that they are eligible to vote because the eligibility has been erased by the Supreme Court. And they've done some other things very underhandedly by including some other issues into the gay marriage law, if you will. It opened up a Pandora's box.
It did.
That is another. That leads to another question that I have for you. As POTUS, or as the Commander-in-Chief, should you become the victor in this race, how would you handle, and this coincides with the illegal invasion that we're experiencing, how will you handle getting the rein back in on the refugee corruption in the refugee importation system? Because it is amok. They're literally bringing in hundreds of thousands of Muslims on airplanes. This is a fact. This is not conspiracy. I know this absolutely to be truth. Monthly, they're bringing them in and changing the demographics of areas and placing these Muslims around the country. And as you well know, they're very aggressive in their theology They wage war economically, militantly speaking, and the imposition of Sharia law is already effective in a couple of areas. There are two privatized bills specifically for Muslims only to be compliant with Sharia law. One is they're tax exempt completely, both business and personal. Pardon me. And they also are exempt from any interest on loans. And one of the fastest growing mortgage companies in America right now is called Sharia Mortgage. It's backed by HSBC. How will you handle those issues? And will you move to have those particular bills removed or those laws removed as a discriminating bill, specifically embracing Sharia law, which is not the law of this land?
Yeah, so again, all of a sudden there's all these things come to me about this, but the first thing is that in Seattle, the mayor there, came out and he's trying to get these followers of Sharia law to where they can get home loans because their religion doesn't allow them to pay interest on loans. And so there's a big story about that, and I put that on my Facebook the other day, but that's something that's come out in the last couple of weeks. And bottom line on that is, that it's obviously is discrimination. Again, why are these people coming to America and them wanting America to change and for them, and to fit into what they believe America should be? It makes no sense. I'm completely against catering to groups of people, that want change, and to that degree. Vote on things, let the popular vote decide things when it comes down to things that affect people. And it shouldn't really matter what people in, California think about something that affects South Carolina. Let's let the people in South Carolina decide what affects South Carolina, or, so on. And when you don't do that, when you just push through things and people don't agree with it, the majority of people in the state, it just creates more resentment, more problems. And so to me, one, we need to do things at a local level and get federal government out of things. Two, we shouldn't cater to any small group of people that want change without making sure that it's something that the majority of people are for, especially when it comes to a law change. It makes no sense to say that you, because of your religious beliefs, should get a different deal than somebody else. It makes no sense. And I have a problem with that in just about everything when it comes to equality, is that equality usually means taking from where you're at and putting yourself above somebody else, and not really making it equal. They want to make up for the past. They want to do this and that, and they ultimately want an advantage over the person that they're claiming that they want to be equal to, and that's not right. So the other thing I want to say is in my city of Portland, Oregon, we have a large amount of, and I just base this on what I see with my own eyes, Muslim students that I guess go to Portland State University. And I used to go to a sports bar and use their Wi-Fi and mix some campaigning online with watching a ball game. And there would be all of these people that happened to be Muslim that would come in after school or whatever, and they would come in. There would end up being 18, 20 people there in different groups, 4 here, 6 here at different tables, but they all knew each other. And I was like, wow, this is really building up, and more and more and more. And one day, I wasn't there this day, but there's one of the girls that was a waitress there, and 2 or 3 of the Muslims got up, cornered her, and one of them said to her something to the effect of, "You are now my girlfriend," or "You are now mine," and just was very serious about it, very intimidating, and clearly, and shook her up. And all this. Now, had I been there, I probably would have, 1, been kicked out of their establishment, 2, probably been in jail, because I would have definitely defended her and said, this isn't how we talk to women in America. This isn't how we do things. But when you start looking at Sharia law, when you start looking at Islam and some of these other things, it's not religion. It's got no place really in America at all, in my opinion. I did post something I posted this on Facebook the other day, and it created just absolutely a storm of trouble. It probably raised my clout score, but that was about all it did good for me. But normally I use my Facebook page. I said before, I try to keep things positive. I've got all these different types of people that are supporting me. Nobody's going to agree on everything. Even my best supporter doesn't agree with me on everything. But overall, they look at the big picture and say, this is the guy that I would like to see successful in this campaign. So I'm usually very careful not to really get into debates on my page because I don't want my supporters fighting each other over one point and having, that's just not what I want on my page. I want to keep the focus on raising awareness and getting the word out. And if you disagree with me on something, send me a message and introduce me to more facts and all this. But I posted a question because somebody had asked me if I would support a constitutional amendment to ban Islam in America. And my first thought was, I'm extremely against Islam based on what I've learned about it. And so my first thought was, that makes some sense. But I also was thinking, am I really big on messing with the Constitution at all and doing stuff with that? So I ended up posing the question on my page, and I said, I only want a yes or no answer to this. I'm not looking for a debate. There's no right or wrong answer here. I'm just curious. And I put that out there, and oh my God, in an hour I must have had 200 responses, and people had decided what my thoughts were just by asking the question, and they were pissed at me and all this other stuff. I lost several friends off Facebook, and all this kind of thing over it. And I just learned that I need to be more careful of how I word things, and that I make sure that I'm just clear about my stance on things instead of leaving it like that, I guess, on my page. There's plenty of other places where you can debate and argue and fight over things, but I think that's a big part of the problem. I got no problem with debate. I got a problem when people want to focus on being just negative towards others instead of working on solutions or looking at facts and things of that nature. But I personally, I'm good with any religion. I'm good with people that are atheists. I'm good with people that are non-believers. I'm good with people that are Christians. I don't care what your religious belief is. I will represent you as long as you're not hurting other people, breaking laws. But when your belief is women don't have rights, when your belief is, we need to take this down because it doesn't represent you, and we need to put this up to appease your religion or your beliefs in America, I have a huge problem with that. And you can get the hell out.
See, I agree with you there, brother. In retrospect, I would like to invite anybody that's listening to this call to do a little bit of homework on Islam, the centuries of slaughter. Look at the Crusades and what the reasoning was behind the Crusades. I would invite you to look at the economic theology and the militant theology that is embraced in the Quran and in the so-called religion of Islam. And then look at the history of Islam as well. And just a brief tidbit, and I won't go into it too deep because this is about you today. The Jesuits, and it's going to piss a lot of people off, the Jesuits actually were the creators of Islam. They went into Persia. They took the Bible and perverted it. That's why you see so many parallels in the Quran. It was for the purpose of confusion, basically, and that Islam is the foot soldiers, and has been since the beginning of Islam out of Persia by the Jesuits to have a full throttle attack on Protestants, Christians, and Jews, and the white Europeans to remove them, to eliminate them. And over the centuries, they have killed literally, probably the number is more close to 1 billion of people. And this is since the beginning of Islam. If you look at current events, you look at the history, you look at the attacks across the country and across the globe right now, there is no moderate Muslim. And when they say radical jihadists, they're trying to imply that there are good Muslims. Please do your homework, people. We've done many years of study on this, and we have interviewed Coptic Christians who will tell you exactly what I'm telling you. It is not a religion. It is disguised as a religion. They use it as a foothold to gain political value and to reap the benefits under Sharia law that other religions reap concerning tax exemption and some of the other exceptions. So I'm going to leave it at that. I have, as a citizen of the United States of America, of Texas, as a real person or a common person, my thought is I would like to see Islam removed from America. We cannot coexist with terrorists, child traffickers, pedophiles, people who want to cut our heads off and who have made it clear that that's what they want to do. They dominate everywhere they put their feet. And it's happening across the globe right now, and it's called the Caliphate. And it is jihad that is being waged right here in America. So,
yep.
Go ahead, brother. I just wanted to leave that.
No, 100%. I agree with you 100% on that. And so, yeah, that's one of the big hot button issues right now. And I am in agreement with you on that. And I said before I really started to really understand that better, you know, I didn't want to put down any religion, but that isn't a religion, you know, it's not at all. I certainly wouldn't identify that as a religion. So
it's a cult.
Anyway, it is.
Go ahead,
on a lighter note, I want to know if either one of you have heard this story about this 15-year-old kid that wrote in that he wants to be the president and so on and so forth, and and they allowed this kid to, I guess they're allowing him to run. He's 15 years old. I thought I thought you had to be 35 and above or whatever, but and the name that he put down was These Nuts. Now, if they didn't know, come on, give me a break. You didn't know that it was a joke, and the kid had the name These Nuts? I mean, come on. Did you two hear this story or what?
I did hear something about that. I didn't hear that he was 15, but I heard about the D's Nuts things, and I heard that he's got a certain percentage of the vote right now as far as a poll showed in one of the states. So I don't know, but somewhere Kansas or Nebraska or somewhere out there, he was doing very well. But in any event, the law is, and honestly, I don't understand the Ted Cruz exception to the law, I guess, because I don't think he was born in the United States. But in any event, the law is that you have to have been at least 35 years old, as you said. You have to have been born inside the United States, and you have to have lived here for the last 14 years continuously. Those are the rules, and it's the same rule if you're a running mate of somebody, because, of course, you're just one heartbeat away from being the president. And, you know, so those are the rules. And I should throw out, because I know there's a lot of people listening right now and a lot of passionate people that are hearing everything that we're saying and very much in agreement and getting fired up right now. One of the biggest things that I need going forward is a running mate as soon as possible. I filed to run for president over a year ago. I appreciate that. I need a running mate. I need someone that's serious. I know you are. And I tell everybody this, Becky, you know, and you probably already have done it anyway because we've been talking a while, but read, you know, every word of my website, you know, word for word, make sure that we're on the same page, make sure that my dirty laundry that I got on there, because I throw it all out there so nobody can, you know, use it against me later. Make sure that I'm somebody
washing your clothes. I'm not washing your clothes in a second.
Yeah. Well, I probably should do some myself here before I go on this 2-week campaign trip that I'm getting ready to go on. But anyhow, the bottom line, though, is as serious as possible. I cannot move forward with starting this petition process to get on these state ballots until I have a running mate. I extended the offer to a couple people that would have been outstanding. I was really disappointed. There is a man in West Virginia that has 20-some years of military experience. We know how passionate I am about the military. I did not serve the military myself. I really would have been honored to have a vice president or a running mate that had went as far as he had. He had run for a position similar to how you did. He ran for Congress in West Virginia. He ran on $15,000. Is all he raised up against an incumbent that had $650,000. that he spent on the campaign, and this guy still got 36% of the vote.
Wow.
So I mean, there was a lot of just incredible things. He was unknown, except right in his county, which he dominated. He lost every other county in their state to the incumbent, but overall 38% or something of the vote, and just a great guy. But he decided that his community is where he was needed, that there were some things there that he needed to address and he needed to work on, and I understand that, So what I believe is this. One is that we're going to inspire a lot of good Americans to run for local, state, and federal offices. Those people out there that go, my family would think I was nuts if I ran for president or if I ran for Congress, for all the things that we get told because we go out and do things like this, Becky. But the bottom line is I think a lot of people will be inspired by people like us that are doing this. They're going to give it a shot. I already see people doing it anyway. And eventually they're going to start winning these positions. And then we can start getting actual representation. We can put in term limits and make sure that we have fresh faces going forward, fresh ideas. And it's going to reduce the opportunity for corruption, scandal. It's going to increase the likelihood that people are in touch with their constituents. And I believe that 100%, that if we can get the word out, if we can win or even just give this a really good run, but especially if we can win, we're going to motivate a lot of people and we're going to really shift this entire dynamic. A lot of people say we need to completely throw out the whole system. I say, if you want to do these other things, then by all means, try to come up with a better way. But for myself, I work with what we have in place right now. I file the proper paperwork to run for president. I'm 36 years old, so I meet the qualifications. And the bottom line is that, I'm doing my best to make a difference within the system that's in place. But I think that we can improve it by getting good people and getting real representation. And that's what I'm convinced for. Deez Nuts is not a person that I would consider to be my running mate. He's not of legal age. And, so he does not need to respond, but other than that, anyone that's over 35 that is as serious about this as I am, and Becky, that includes you. So definitely, I want to talk to you offline about that if you're serious about that, and we can get rolling because we got to get these petitions out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
I'll tell you.
Wow.
I know. Yeah, I thank you, Ed. That speaks volumes to my heart, brother. I appreciate that. I have a question for you. We have 3 branches of government as it sits, or we're actually supposed to. We all know it's not operating as government is supposed to be operated. But we have a legislative branch, we have an executive, and a judiciary branch. We have a judicial branch. Your position as president is to, you have some tasks. An executive office of the president, executive and cabinet department as an independent government agency. You are over all of those agencies that I just mentioned, but you would also be the person who nominates the judges. And I have a real issue with what's going on all the way down to the municipal level right now in this country, from the appellate courts to the Supreme Court to the federal judges that are in place. We actually have one judge right now who is challenging the office over the amnesty issue. It's a federal judge right here in Texas. Out of the entire country, we have one judge that has enough balls to say, no, this is an unconstitutional act. It's not. It is not in the best interest of America. And I want you to answer for what you've pulled with the work permits and the amnesty order. And they're ignoring this federal judge that was appointed to his seat. What would you do as POTUS? What would you do to address the obvious corruption in those seats that have been given so graciously to the parties that are holding those seats that are corrupt? What would you do to change that? How will you assure the American public that we have a judiciary system that is fair to all people and represents the people and not the state?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, that each of these different things has a job to do and should be allowed to do their job. the president, I believe, the main thing is that he's there to make sure that the Constitution is being followed, and that's like one of the biggest things. So, obviously that's not happening, and through executive order threats and through all these other things, they just think that they can do anything they want anyway. And so to me, whenever people come to me and say, what would you do about this? What would you do about that? Usually I say, well, that's up to Congress to make the laws. That's up, really the president can't dictate all that. They can give their thoughts and influence, and I've got a lot of ideas that way, but it's like, bottom line is that judge should be able to rule within, what the Constitution is. So why are we allowing these others?
What will you do as a president to assure us that you remove that corruption and you put in the place of those people, because it's your job to appoint them? Would you remove the issue that we are facing today as far as judiciary corruption?
Absolutely. There's, if anybody, no matter what position you're in, I don't care who you are, and that includes the President of the United States or anyone else, nobody should be above the law, and everybody should be held accountable. If anything, people that are in positions of power, positions of authority, should be held to higher standards, and if they abuse that power, they need to be punished very significantly. I'm fed up with people like Hillary Clinton and some of these other people that can, clearly break the law, significant laws, and they just, they're not going to get prosecuted, they're not going to get punished, and yet you got someone like Edward Snowden who can't even come back to the United States because he's going to get thrown in prison for trying to help the American people. And I'm sick of whistleblowers getting punished while the people that they're blowing the whistle on continue to be in power. And so that goes for any of those judges, any of those things. And again, on that specific note, I would need to learn a lot more about that to be able to speak more on it. But in general, one of the things that just popped into my head about judges is this prison for profit type thing that I'm learning a lot more about. I just can't believe in the last couple of weeks I've been looking more and more at this, and a judge was sent to prison finally for I think a couple decades or something. He got sentenced for because he was accepting bribes of like $3 million to send more juveniles to jail, just to continue to fill up these jails. Yeah.
Yes, that's an atrocity. And sir, the one thing that we can never get back in this lifetime is actually time. Once time is ticked away, it's done. There's no way to replace it. It's the most valuable commodity that we have as a human being that God has gifted us with, and it's time. And what we do with that time is so crucial, and we waste so much of it. But when it's taken away in such a manner as this judge took away this time from these kids, it alters lives when injustice is in such a manner as what this judge did. And in my opinion, he should never see daylight again. And we do need to remove this for-profit organization that is so corrupt, and it trickles right down to the municipalities. There's a lot of money, revenue being filtered through these sentencings that we're seeing in court, and the release due to overcrowding of criminals who are of detriment to life and liberty of the citizens of this country. For instance, you might have somebody who has a rap sheet 7 foot long, and they've already got charges that they've served on that are not just criminal, but they are a felony with arms or aggressive behavior, and then they're released back out onto society after being in and out of the prison system since they were, 12, 13, 14 years old. They're in their 30s, and then they finally pull the trigger and go ahead and kill somebody, but they've already been in for assault or robbery with a weapon, things of that nature. And we're seeing this time and time again. We really need to clean it up, and we need to stop making this a program that benefits lobbyists and people of interest that have vested interest in this prison system. because that's where we're seeing a lot of breakdown in the judiciary system, in my opinion.
Hey,
So
Becky, I actually have a question, two questions for
Go
him.
ahead.
That, I think they're kind of really important questions, and somebody just actually texted me that's listening to the show and said, when they come to debates and stuff, these are two of the biggest questions that nobody's asked. Where's your stance on the legalization of drugs? And what about, to me, this one is really, I don't understand what the president has to do with it, but when it comes to the abortion issue. So I have to ask it just because I'm being asked, but to me, I don't find that to be, any of the president's business, I guess you could say.
Okay. If I may, I'll answer that. And let me real quickly just make a point about this prison thing, too, because it's something that's caught my ear lately. So I guess that they can I guess they actually sell the stocks or whatever on the stock exchange for these prison companies or whatever. So and then what they've actually are doing is they've got contracts with some of these jails or whatever that they guarantee that they will be at least 90% capacity, and if they're not, they have to pay a fine. They have to pay some kind of money back because of that. So rather than encouraging a community to start to really clean up its act and actually get to where you aren't at 100% capacity, where you should feel really good about, hey, our jail is down to 70% capacity. We're really helping people, get their lives back on track, discouraging people from committing crimes. They are incentivized to keep their jails full. Yeah. And these jails do not rehabilitate. They do not help people get on with their lives. And a lot of these people have addictions. We're going to talk about drugs here in a second, but a lot of people have addictions to things. I don't have so much of a problem with the person that's addicted to a drug or addicted to gambling that causes them to maybe commit a theft or addicted to, this or that. What they need is help with their addiction. And they need, once they are willing to accept that help and they want that help, which for myself, I had a gambling addiction. As soon as I wanted help for that addiction, I got the help and I stopped gambling. It was a big problem for me, but for my years of my childhood and into my, late 20s, it was a huge problem. But until I got help for it, and until I wanted the help as well. But these jails, they just throw you back out and you're stuck in the system. They bring you right back in. And like you said, these violent criminals, and a lot of these are illegal aliens that they're not deporting. They're letting them right back out on the street, 3-4 major crimes later, and they murder somebody. And it's like, well, why the hell were they still here? And why were they allowed to do that? But just even if you're a legal citizen, you do everything right, but you have these problems, they do progress if they don't get help. And the jail system is not helping. You throw these kids into there, and it's a training ground. They make more contacts in prison. They get better informed. They get, they come out and they're in gangs they weren't in when they went in. I mean, it's a huge problem. So the two questions that the listener asked, the first one, legalization of drugs. I'll do the abortion one gladly in a minute.
Okay.
But the legalization of drugs, first of all, was the first one. And I'm all for legalization of marijuana. The state of Oregon legalized it. State of Washington, I'm in the Northwest here, Colorado. I'm not exactly sure all the states have legalized it. Again, as president, I don't think it would be my business to say this should be a national law. Let's have the Supreme Court decide what everybody should do. But I would say that in general, I'm for states putting that on a ballot to have a vote, and I think that I'm very much in support of legalizing marijuana. Throughout America, there are 40,000 people at any given time that are incarcerated that have a marijuana-related conviction. 20,000 of them only have a marijuana-related conviction. To get those 20,000 people out of jail, let's put those 20,000 people that are at risk to society in jail. Let's use our resources on the dangerous people. Let's help the people that are addicted to drugs to be able to get off those drugs, and let's punish the people that are bringing the drugs in illegally, whether that's the CIA, whether it's what we're doing in Afghanistan with these poppy fields, the cocaine. Let's fight to get those drugs. I have no time for those drugs in America. I think they ruin lives. I have no time for heroin. I got no time for crack cocaine. So this idea that, well, it's your body, go ahead and do whatever you want to it, I have a problem with that to that degree. I have no problem with marijuana as a choice there. I have no problem with you putting as much salt as you want on your hamburger and your fries. I have no problem with you drinking as much soda as you want. You know, these other drugs like those where people in New York or whatever want to tell you you're not allowed to have salt anymore or all this other crap. I'm not into that kind of thing. But when we're talking about things that are like crack cocaine, heroin, I've got big problems with those. So I could never see myself saying, oh, that, you know, let's let those things go. But what I will say is the person that's addicted to crack cocaine is not nearly my concern as far as locking somebody up than it is the person that's bringing that drug into the city, getting those people hooked on it and ruining their lives. And so you in these communities, it's not too hard to find where it ends up. And what I think we need to do is we need to help, this is what I'm committed to doing, is helping communities with fighting back against crime. These gangs that think that they own streets and can intimidate people can go out and murder somebody and nobody will talk because they know that they're going to be a snitch and they're next and their family is next. That crap has got to stop. I want to do whatever we can to help communities be safe, to take these thugs and make it so they don't see the light of day again. Get these gang members and cartels out of here. And it starts with the deportation because a lot of these people are illegal in this country to begin with. It's using our resources wisely so we're not locking up people because they smoke marijuana. And it's, you know, taking a stronger stance against those that threaten, intimidate, abuse men, women, children, and are these kids, man, they're 12 years old, they're whatever, they're 10, 12, 14 years old, and they're having to make choices in their neighborhood whether or not to join a gang, get beat into a gang, and it's to survive. You know, I heard a guy say, they said, why did you join a gang? And he said, well, it was either join the gang or get beat up every day, you know, because that was what would happen to him in his neighborhood. Well, now he's in prison for the rest of his life because he was involved in a murder or something with his gang, you know, and so, yes, you're responsible for your own choices, but in some of these situations, they really don't have a heck of a lot of choice, and they're put in really tough positions. And then the other thing is, why is it so attractive to, you know, commit these crimes? We need to make sure that we're getting them education and opportunities. And I think getting rid of illegal aliens will open up more jobs. I think we will have more opportunities for people. It all ties together, but bottom line is I'm committed to helping these neighborhoods. And the final thing, too, is I'm against stupidity. I want to help neighborhoods overcome stupidity, like in schools when these teachers and these school administrators suspend a kid for biting a Pop-Tart and saying, hey, it looks like a gun, or when a third-grade girl shaves her head in support of another girl that has cancer, and they suspend her because she broke some kind of code by shaving her head. We need to let kids be individuals, let them use their imagination, and let them have compassion. And I think communities need to stand up against these idiots that are making these rules and saying that is something that you're going to be punished for. The same goes for in a park where a 92-year-old pastor is arrested multiple times for feeding the homeless, which he had done for decades, but now there's some kind of city ordinance or something where you can't feed homeless in a park, or a kid's lemonade stand gets closed down for not having a permit. We need to let kids and people, be compassionate, get rid of this crap where they are punished for being good Americans and being themselves. And so I'm very committed to that. Abortion is this. I agree with what was just said there, that frankly, I used to say it was like asking me what my thought of the color orange is. You know, it really shouldn't matter too much what I think as an individual. I don't see myself doing anything with abortion as president, that something's going to come across my desk and say, hey, you signed this and there'll be no abortion anymore, or something like that. But the bottom line is this. In 2 words, I'm pro-choice. That being said, the majority of my supporters are not pro-choice. They are pro-life. A lot of them hate abortion, think that it's the worst thing in the world. But a lot of them still support me amazingly because they look at the overall picture and go, even though that's the case, and I strongly disagree with you on this, the overall picture, they still support me, which is huge. But the thing is this, if you are somebody that hates abortion and you're against abortion, and you have a situation in your life where abortion would be an option, you probably are going to choose not to have an abortion because that goes against your beliefs. If you are somebody that believes that is in that same position and abortion is an option, you may consider that as an option for yourself, and you are going to live your life with making that decision. I am only concerned about this. I am concerned about the people that are alive today. I'm concerned about the people that are going to be born in the future, and I'm concerned about the people that have lived and fought for our freedom and died for it, that are rolling over in their graves right now because of what we're doing in this country and on this world. And those are the people I'm concerned about. I'm concerned every time I see somebody pregnant thinking about, wow, what is the future for that child? You know, we've got problems, and before you start thinking about bringing more kids into this world, you better take a look at what's going on in this world and make sure that you want to, make this world a better place for that child, because we're not going in the right direction. And the final thing I'll say on it is this. When it comes to things like gay marriage and abortion, again, the majority of my supporters disagree with me on those issues, even though they adamantly agree with me on most other things, right? And some are just the opposite, whatever. But for me, these are not things I think about any other time except when I'm asked about them. And that's the only thing that frustrates me about being asked about them, is because the only time I think about what I think about it is when I'm asked what I think about it. I don't sit here and worry about it. They're not hot button issues for me. They don't get my passion going. I don't get angry about it. I don't get happy about it. I didn't put up a rainbow flag when the gay marriage thing went through. I didn't march or celebrate or march in support of it ahead of time. It really isn't a hot button issue for me. Furthermore, I hate that the Supreme Court made the decision, because I don't think that's their position to do that at all. So I think it's okay for states to vote and let people in that state make a decision because it affects them and their state. And when you don't do that, and you have a group of 7 or 9 or whatever people it is that decide what America needs to be for everyone, it only leads to resentment in those states that don't agree with it. And we continue to have this problem that we have, where we worry about a flag or we worry about these other things while we're getting murdered by the elite who are poisoning our food, our water, our air, our medicines, and all these other things. And for me, my passions are illegal immigration, 9/11, our military, and making sure that we have safe food, water, air, medicines. Those are the things that I get fired up about. Those are what I would go march for. Those are what I would celebrate a victory for. The day that we find out that all illegal aliens are going to be deported, I'll be celebrating that. But I didn't celebrate when gay marriage was legalized, even though I'm for equality of people, and I believe that I don't believe people decide to be gay. I don't believe that they should. 2 consenting adults, I think, should be able to make a decision to spend their life together, whether it's called marriage or not. I think they should have the same rights as anyone else, and that's fine. But again, I don't sit there and get too fired up about it one way or the other. It's not my big deal. And I say to people who it is, go for it. Go out and fight that battle. If you hate abortion and goes against your religion, goes against all this other stuff, then fight for it. But, that's your thing. Maybe you don't care as much about illegal aliens as I do, that whole situation. But that's my fight. And I'm not running on 1 or 2 issues. I believe we can address everything that needs looking at in a 4-year term. I'm committed to doing that. Like I said before, there's literally 80 to 100 different issues people have told me are important to them that I'm trying to learn more and more about. I think we can address all of those things. I'm committed to working all 1,461 days of my term. I don't play golf. I'm willing to work my butt off for America, represent Americans, and I'm not going to do anything but the minimum to seek a second term. I'm not going to actively campaign beyond what is necessary to be on your ballot for a second term. If I am elected, you will base your decision to have me for that second term strictly based on my performance in my first term. There is so much work to do. I can't imagine wanting a day off. We have a lot to do. There's 4 years. We can get all this stuff addressed, but the bottom line is we're going to be working our butts off. Final thing is, a vote for me is not a vote for now we sit back and everything's going to be roses. A vote for me is it's going to be a reality check, and we're going to expose a lot of things, and we're going to realize that a lot of things that we were told aren't what they are. We're going to really start looking at our debt. We're going to realize how much trouble we're in, and we're going to start addressing these things. And it's going to be that the good people in the neighborhoods are going to have to step up and really start taking care of their own. And we're going to have to do a lot of those things as well. So it's not a vote that now everything's going to be roses and we're going to be in flying cars or something and everybody's going to be, suddenly wealthy. It's going to be, look, we're going to right the path from what road we've been going down, and we're going to fix a lot of things that have been screwed up for a long time. And there's going to be some painful reality in that, but that's what we're going to do, and I'm committed to it.
I have a couple more questions for you as well, Bobby, when you're done. No, when you're done, Bobby, go ahead. Bobby.
No, I was just going to tell that. Yeah, I mean, all very good answers. I mean, and I'm looking forward to if they allow you to debate sometime. I mean, I know money is usually something that bars into that factor to be able to go to, some of these debates. And I don't know if, money is an issue, but maybe, towards the end of the show here, which we're getting close to it now, you can give us any information, that we can plug for you, and you can get out there and maybe, you might be able to get campaign contributions, or you might be able to get somebody to put a bumper sticker, like you said, on a car, or, maybe somebody can do some kind of, blade work for you or whatever. But, here, Becky, go ahead. I'm sorry, sis. Go ahead.
No. I have a couple more questions I want to squeeze in here, and these are going to be really, really touchy questions. But
more than abortion?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say, this is going to be a tough one, brother, and you may or may not want to answer this, but I'm going to bring it.
I think I've got a bad connection.
I'm going to bring it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, don't play that bad connection on me. Here's what I'm going to ask you. We're very frustrated, and I know you are as well, very frustrated about the current situation that we're in, the very clear and present tyranny that we're living under, the question, the $6 million question, if you will, has always been, where is Barry from? Is his name really Barry? He operates under a fake ID. He operates under a fake Social Security number. He spent $12 million to seal his identity. That's been done with purpose. If anybody's identity should be open to the public and their past and history, it should certainly be the Commander-in-Chief. We have a corrupt government, is what I'm trying to say. What would you do if we, the people, asked our president to get with the DOJ, to clean the DOJ up, appoint someone in there that would bring us back to a republic, but not only that, go after Obama for espionage and destroying this country and decimating our military? Would you be willing to pursue that task if you were to be the victorious president?
Yeah, I don't know if I don't find that more touchy than the some of the other questions, really. I mean, that to me is just as I said before, anyone, no matter the position that they're in, if anything, the more power you have, the more accountability that should go with that. And nobody, I can't imagine anyone has screwed up America more than that person has. And now, as far as all the birth certificate and was he born, where was he born, and all this, I can't speak on that really. I mean, the birth certificate, somebody actually sent me a copy of the birth certificate that supposedly was his real, birth certificate copy of all this. And from what I researched on that, they kind of debunk it by saying that the font of it wasn't even, put out until X year, and all this sort of thing. So I don't know about all that. I think that there's very good reason to believe that he was not born in Hawaii or not born in America. I think there's good reason to believe that. I think, but that's speculation, and that's really nowhere I should really be going. That's just a personal thing
I want you, but I want you as the president, sir, as the president, I want you to get to the bottom of it, because this is something that needs to be addressed.
So here's my thought on that. One is, yes, I'm all for that, doing that. The second thing is, in general, I have no problem going back and making things right. So things like 9/11, I think we got to go back and get the truth out about that, and I think we need to do that to move forward. The Obama thing, I think that's an example where, yeah, we probably need to go back and, get the truth out about that if there's something there. What I don't want to do is always be looking to go back and spend money and do things that are at a low probability of getting really far with it or really seeing an end result with it. I do want it. We've got so much that we're going to have to do to fix the problems that this man created, that even if he went to prison for the rest of his life, we're still going to have these problems. Now, should he go to prison for his crimes? I definitely think so. And I don't think anyone should be above the law, and they need to be punished. But as far as, if we look at every single thing and we go, well, should we go back and fix this and fix that and address that? I think then we spend too much time going back instead of looking and going, we've lost a lot of time here, a lot of money, a lot of pain for a lot of people. We got a lot of people hurting. We need to really kind of start moving forward. But I believe we can go multiple directions. I think that it's a matter of having good people in these positions that are, no one person should be doing all this stuff anyway. You need to have committees and experts and people that actually have the best interest of America in mind. And I don't see why we can't get to work on all those things on day one or week one of a presidency. So
Here's
I'm all
the
for
reason that I asked that question. Because there's going to be two ways for you to undo a lot of the damage that he did. One, you undo all of his executive orders, which is going to take a huge portion of your time in office if you're in your first term, because there's a lot to take care of there. However, if you can prove ineligibility and you can try him for espionage or treason, whatever the case may be, and we have every evidence that he's guilty already, then that would nullify everything that he's done all the way down to Obamacare, and that becomes a non-issue. And that was the reason that I asked you that question. The other question would be, would you go after those that are guilty of misprision and treason for aiding and abetting the clear and present danger of the tyranny that's coming out of that position in the White House? Would you be willing to do the same to those people guilty?
Yeah.
Just a simple yes or no.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. And again, the reason that I asked that question is lives are being lost. They're guilty of sedition. They're guilty of misprision. They're guilty of treason. They're guilty of murder. They're accomplices to murder. And they are aiding and abetting the enemy. They carry the purse strings and the responsibility to remove the tyrant, which they have refused to do, which now puts them in the same category as far as criminal status. So that was my question. And the people in America want to see justice, and we want to see somebody with a backbone, somebody with the strength and the courage who does this as fearlessly as I do in reporting what needs to be done and impartation of truth and knowledge. I want to see somebody with a backbone, sir, that will stand up against the beast, and we will support you. Not only will we support you in that, sir, I will defend you with my life. I will stand in front of the bullet that was meant for you as an American, and I mean that with my heart.
I'm putting you on my security team. So, no, I think that this is great. I really appreciate it. And give me if I may have these last couple minutes to answer that last question there, make sure I give out my information. For one thing I want to say real quick is that furthermore about going after these people, anyone that was responsible for the planning, execution, or cover-up of the events of 9/11, I want to see punished to the fullest, and that means the death penalty if they knowingly were involved. And I find it hard to believe that a president or somebody that is high up within administrations don't know something that differs from the official story of 9/11. And if they didn't reveal that, then they are a part of the cover-up. And so I'm not going to say for sure who those people are, but I think the investigation needs to prove that, and whoever it is, they need to be take action against them. And in my opinion, anyone that committed those crimes deserves the death penalty, period. And so here's the deal. Everybody, I need your help. Anybody that heard my voice today, anybody that was at all inspired or intrigued, I need to hear from you as soon as possible. Contact information, my website, edbaker2016.com. My email address, I will always get back to you myself. It is ed@edbaker2016.com. My Facebook, I have a group page that I set up because my personal page was maxing out. So it is facebook.com/groups/edbaker2016. Go on there, join, add your friends to it. They'll thank you later. Just get as many people on there as possible. If they don't want to be on, they push a couple buttons and they get off. Big deal. We need to get people aware that I am an option to consider. Money, 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 right? Look, I hate asking for money. We're up against people spending millions and millions of dollars. I'd like to have $2,000 in my checking account so that I can buy something when I need it or go on a trip when I have an opportunity. If anybody out there can make a contribution, $10, $20, the maximum donation I can accept is $2,600 per person. Don't know how Jeb Bush can get $1 million. I'm told my maximum is $2,600. You can send that to me, and you have to make it out to my committee, which is Ed Baker for President. And you send that to me, Ed Baker, 1225 Southeast Belmont Street, Suite 212, Portland, Oregon, 97214. Again, it needs to be made out of check or money order. Ed Baker for President, mailed to me at Ed Baker, 1225 Southeast Belmont Street, Suite 212, Portland, Oregon, 97214. All contributions will be made, told to the FEC as required. I will personally tell you what every dime of your contribution was used for. I will do everything I can to represent you, and nobody needs to give me a dime if you expect something back for it beyond what I'm doing. I need everybody to understand there's no special favors for anything. But if you believe in what I represent and that I mean it when I say we can get there at the end and we can win this, we can derail the evil agenda, please do your best to help. And if you can't make a financial contribution, there's so many other things you can do. Let others know about me. Contact your local media and let them know that you want them to cover my campaign. Call your friends. Share my messages on Facebook. Put a bumper sticker on your car. Get in touch with me. I'll hook you up with a bumper sticker. Usually I ask $2 each for them to cover my expenses. But, we need to get the message out. So thank you so much, Becky. Thank you for everybody that had a question. And it's just an honor to be able to introduce myself as an option for your listeners to consider.
Well, thank you for joining us, sir. It's been a pleasure to have you on. I was actually looking forward to having you on because myself and Bobby Piesinger were talking about it. And actually, Karen Smith, who happens to be one of our co-hosts that, talks about South Africa, she also was talking to us about bringing you on. So, I mean, it's been through the channels many times, and, you were on our bucket list, that's for sure. So it's been a pleasure to have you on, and, I think that you're going to get a lot of support. I really do. I think that you think and your ideas are how a lot of us would like to see it done. So with that being said, hopefully that's a course for victory.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for being on. Becky, are you there?
Thank you for being on.
Oh, there you go.
Sir. I want to thank you for tolerating my extreme questions. I appreciate it, and your truthful answers. I believe that you've been forthright with the audience today, and I appreciate that. We look for that. It's a valuable commodity for me personally to see that in your character. So what I wanted to ask my listeners, we're listened to in 35 countries now. We simulcast right now. Jim is simulcasting you through, and I'm going to open his mic back up so he can say goodbye as well. We're on to hit close to 1 million listeners by the end of the year, so you're on a great format here with Rage Against the Regime. I'd like to invite you back as your campaign begins to progress and take some forward motion in more positive direction, and you're getting more things accomplished and getting out there. We'd like to have you back on Rage Against the Regime to give us some updates and gain some more fans, if you will.
Absolutely.
That want to hear what you have to say.
Amen, Becky. Amen. And you and I we had an off-air conversation this morning, and I said, I've said this to you for well over a year now. This is Jim with Bank versus You. And what did I say to you? I'm going to get that motorhome. I'm going to get my ass up there from Tampa, Florida, up there, and pick up Ed up there in Washington, and I'll drive his political assets around for a couple of months, and we'll do it on my Shell Oil credit card. You know, I mean, we can do this. Yeah, we can do this, and we do it grassroots. We have computers. We have people like Bobby and Becky and all of us here. We all have, you know, with our backgrounds, I bring networks and cellular to the table. You don't think I could pick you up and we could not survive on $50 a day and visit at least 2 cities and migrate our way around this country? You bet your sweet assets we can. Anyway, Ed, I'm behind you, Becky, Bobby, all of my listeners and all of Becky and Bobby's listeners and the supporters for Ed Baker. Thank you so much for including me in this, and I did record this. Becky, I look forward to maybe hearing from you tomorrow. You know, we have our Sunday call. Ed, God bless you, sir, and you know how to get in touch with me. And with that, again, thank you for the invitation, and with that, folks, I yield.
All right, Bobby, wrap our show up. Thank you, Ed. Brother, you've got my phone number. You reach out and give me a call, and we'll have a more personal conversation.
Really appreciate it. Thank you. I will.
All right. God bless you. Bobby, go ahead and close the show out, brother. I've got a grandson who's waiting patiently for me to come and retrieve him.
Well, thank you, Ed Baker, for joining us. It was a pleasure having you on, and, you know, we look forward to hearing from you in the future. I want to thank Jim from Bank versus You for simulcasting for us. Some news that I want to report. Ralph Randolph will be joining us next week. I'm not exactly sure on the day. We'll get that solidified and then let everybody know. This is the big news. Madison Rising. That's right, Madison Rising, the rock band, will be joining us on September 10th. So you can look forward to having Madison Rising on September 10th. And then we've also been in contact with, well, you know, too many to name. You know, I'm not going to go on false hope on those, but Ralph Randolph will be joining us for sure, and Madison Rising will be joining us on September 10th. So that's about that. And then I want to thank everybody that, you know, was listening to us today, everybody that sent us questions and comments. And without all of you, we are nothing. We will tell you that until we're purple in the face. And, you know, and thank you for supporting us. And please share this show. There's been a lot of good information on this show tonight. Ed was a wonderful guest. And, you know, he has a lot of knowledge, and, you know, a lot of people are going to want to see this guy as our president, and I think that I could ride along with that. So that's really about it. So, Becky, anything else?
No, brother. I want to say you guys have a safe weekend. We'll be back here Monday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. And Karen Smith has a show tomorrow. I believe it's at 2 p.m. Central Time. So be sure and catch her here on Rage Against the Regime. And until next time, God bless, keep safe, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Rage Against the Regime Radio. Don't be a stranger. Please like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter at RATR Podcast. And feel free to leave some feedback whenever you listen to us. You can also email us at rageagainsttheregimepodcast@gmail.com.